Have you been told you need to change your needle every 6 to 8 hours of sewing, that it's just like changing the tires on your car? Does every 6 to 8 hours of sewing seem a little excessive? I mean, it's just a needle poking through fabric. It's a metal needle poking through fabric. How can it wear out? Rubber tires on a road, sure, they wear out, but your needle looks just fine, right? But every minute that you're sewing, your needle goes through that fabric 650 to 1,000 times. After 6 hours of sewing, your needle may have poked through that fabric 360,000 times. Find me a tire that lasts 360,000 miles. Needles need to be changed just like tires because they are the weakest link in the process, but also a super critical part. If tires wear out, they can eventually go bald. And if they're bald, you're not going to have any traction on wet roads and eventually you're going to crash. But how is that like needles? The part that tires play in making a car work is that they grip the road. What do needles do? Needles take the chop thread down inside the machine to interlock it with the bobbin thread. They need to be at a very specific point down inside the machine to pick up that bobbin thread in order to make that stitch. It has to poke through the fabric and stay straight as it does so. In order to make a stitch, a needle has to be in a certain position inside the machine. It goes down into the machine, and then part of the machine comes around right next to the needle, right there. That's called the hook, and it picks up the thread. And you can see that if the needle is bending, if I just push it a little bit, it could be hitting the hook and thereby breaking it or actually damaging the hook. Or if it was being pushed the other way away from the hook, it might not be able to catch that thread to make the stitch. Needles are designed with sharp, thin points so that they're able to easily go down through your fabric and also not leave giant holes in your fabric. But these points are delicate and eventually wear out, even though they're made of metal. And when they do wear out, they can't pierce the fabric so easily, and they tend to bend a little bit when they hit the fabric instead of going straight through. Bending, of course, means they're not in the precise place they need to be in order to make that stitch. And even if they aren't bending, that tip can become rough and jagged and catch on either the top or the bottom thread and cut them so that you would have broken threads, or it can even catch on things in your fabric, causing your fabric to run. So changing your needle after every 6 to 8 hours of sewing is actually a really critical part in getting nice stitches and having good results in your projects. So when was the last time you changed your needle? If you can't remember, change it now so that you can have happy sewing.